The massive ship of the galactic hegemony hung in Earth's orbit like a shining knife. It was 20 times bigger than the largest human space station. Its smooth purple hull reflected sunlight in ways that hurt human eyes to look at. Inside the United Nations Space Command Center, General Maria Chen watched the screens with a tight face. This was the moment humanity had planned for over 100 years. "They're sending their message again, General," said Lieutenant Park. The alien face appeared on the main screen. Grand Admiral Kittisful of the hegemony had 4 eyes and skin that looked like blue stone. When he spoke, his mouth moved in strange ways. "Humans of Earth," the translation came through. "The situation has changed. The Voidthorn invasion fleet has broken through our outer defenses. All species must contribute to the unified defense force." Kittisful's upper eyes narrowed. "Your planet has enjoyed the protection of the hegemony for decades without giving anything in return. This ends now. You will provide ships to our fleet, or face complete economic isolation." The room stayed quiet. Everyone knew what economic isolation meant. No more rare metals from the asteroid belt colonies. No more medicines from the Jupiter stations. Millions would suffer. Ambassador Lee stepped forward. "Grand Admiral, we understand the seriousness of this request. Earth will need 3 solar cycles, 3 of your days, to prepare our response." The alien's stone face showed surprise, then amusement. 3 cycles granted. "Though I fail to see what difference it will make. Our reports show your ships use chemical rockets and nuclear fission. These technologies were abandoned by civilized species thousands of years ago." After the transmission ended, whispers filled the council chamber. The alien was right. Officially, Earth's space fleet consisted of old-style ships with simple engines and basic weapons. That's what the hegemony had been allowed to see for the last 50 years. "Begin the awakening protocol," General Chen said quietly. "Are you sure, ma'am?" asked Colonel Rodriguez. "Once we show them what we have." "We've hidden long enough," Chen replied. "Send the orders to all black sites. Luna Base, Mars Deep, Europa Station, all of them. Full activation of the Ghost Fleet." As her officers rushed to obey, Chen walked to the window that overlooked Earth. Beautiful, vulnerable Earth, home to 12 billion souls who had no idea what was coming, or what their leaders had built to protect them. 3 days later, Ambassador Lee stood before the hegemony representatives again. The aliens waited with barely hidden smiles. What could these primitive humans possibly offer? Lee simply nodded once. "We will contribute to the defense force. Prepare to receive coordinates for our rendezvous point." As the aliens left, laughing among themselves about the handful of obsolete ships humans might provide, deep beneath the lunar surface, 500 warships powered up their engines for the first time. The hegemony was about to learn that appearances could be very deceiving. The hegemony observation ship arrived first at the meeting point near Jupiter. 6 alien officers stood on the bridge, their instruments ready to record the small human fleet they expected to see. Clover, the chief military observer, checked the time again. "The humans are late," he said, his 4 eyes blinking in different patterns. "Perhaps their primitive engines failed on the journey." His assistant laughed. "How many ships do you think they'll bring?" 5. 10. "It doesn't matter," Clover replied. "Whatever they bring will be sent to carry supplies in the back of our fleet, far away from any real fighting." Suddenly, all the instruments on the bridge started beeping wildly. Red lights flashed across every screen. "What's happening?" Clover demanded. The science officer stared at her readings in shock. "There's a massive energy spike. Some kind of space distortion forming right in front of us." A huge circle of blue light appeared in the emptiness of space. It grew larger and larger until it was bigger than the observation ship. Then another blue circle appeared beside it, and another, and another. Soon, over 20 giant blue circles filled the space in front of them. "Impossible," whispered Clover. "These are artificial wormholes. Humans don't have this technology. No one has this many wormhole generators." The first ship emerged from the first circle. It was sleek and dark gray with no visible engines. It was 3 times larger than the biggest ship the hegemony had sent. As it cleared the wormhole, more ships followed behind it. From each blue circle, ships continued to appear, small, fast-looking ships. Medium-sized vessels with strange weapons on their sides. Massive ships that dwarfed anything the observers had ever seen. The science officer's voice shook as she counted. 300, 400, 500. They're still coming. Each ship had the same symbol painted on its side, a stylized Earth with stars around it, and the words United Earth Fleet beneath. Clover couldn't believe his eyes. Our intelligence said they had nothing like this. Nothing. When the final ship had appeared, the wormholes closed. Over 500 vessels hung in perfect formation before them. Each one looked more advanced than the best hegemony ships. A communication request flashed on their screen. When Clover accepted it, a human woman appeared. She wore a crisp, dark uniform with gold on the shoulders. "This is Admiral Helena Chen of the United Earth Fleet," she said calmly. 537 combat vessels, reporting for duty as requested. She smiled slightly at their shocked faces. "We've also brought along some specialized equipment that might prove useful against the Voithorn threat." The aliens stared in silence as the human fleet arranged itself into perfect formation. The ships moved with impossible precision, as if they were all controlled by one mind. "Transmit everything to the Hegemony Council," Clover ordered quietly. "They need to see this immediately." As the data streamed back to the hegemony, one thing became clear to everyone who saw it. Humans had been hiding much more than just ships. They had been hiding their true power all along. 3 days after the humans revealed their fleet, Grand Admiral Kiz Thul arrived in his massive command ship. The blue-skinned alien leader had come to see the human vessels with his own 4 eyes. He brought 20 of the hegemony's best scientists and engineers with him. The Admiral's shuttle docked with the UEF Invictus, the largest ship in the human fleet. As Kezithul stepped through the airlock, he tried to look unimpressed, but his eyes kept darting around, taking in every detail. Admiral Helena Chen waited to greet him. She stood tall in her dark uniform, her face calm and professional. "Welcome aboard the Invictus, Grand Admiral," she said. Kezithul did not return her polite greeting. "We were led to believe your species relied on chemical rockets and fission power," he said, his voice sharp with accusation. Admiral Chen smiled slightly. "We do use those technologies for civilian purposes and our public space program. We've found that allowing potential adversaries to underestimate your capabilities has strategic advantages." The Grand Admiral's upper eyes narrowed. "You deliberately deceived the hegemony." "We protected ourselves," Chen replied. "Would you have welcomed us as equals if you knew our true capabilities? Or would you have seen us as a threat to be controlled?" Without waiting for an answer, she gestured toward the corridor. "Shall we begin the inspection?" The hegemony team moved through the massive ship, scanning everything with their instruments. What they discovered left even the most experienced engineers speechless. In the engine room, they found compact fusion reactors that were half the size of hegemony models, but produced twice the power. The head engineer, Xelizar, ran his scanner over the pulsing core 3 times, not believing the readings. "This efficiency should not be possible," he muttered. When they reached the weapons section, they discovered something even more alarming. Instead of the plasma weapons used by most advanced species, the human ships had huge rails running the length of the vessel. "Kinetic accelerators," explained Commander Jackson, the weapons officer. "They fire metal projectiles at speeds that can punch through any known shield." Xelizar looked up from his scanner, his face pale. "These would be devastating against our fleet." As they continued the tour, the scientists noticed something else strange. Each human ship was slightly different from the others. "Why are no 2 ships identical?" asked one of the hegemony engineers. "Each ship is a test platform," Chen explained. "We've been experimenting with different technologies, constantly improving our designs. Without access to the hegemony's trade networks, we had to develop our own solutions. At the end of the inspection, Grand Admiral Kiz Thul faced Admiral Chen in the conference room. His voice was quieter now, with a new note of respect. If you possessed this technology all along, why hide it? Why allow yourselves to be seen as primitive? Admiral Chen's eyes were steady as she answered. Grand Admiral, humanity has read its own history. When technologically advanced powers encounter less developed ones, the outcome rarely favors the latter. We preferred caution until we understood the nature of the galactic community. As the Grand Admiral returned to his shuttle, he gave new orders to his staff. Move the human fleet from the rear supply position to the front battle line. Immediately, with the Voidthorn enemy getting closer every day, the hegemony organized combat exercises. Each alien species would show their best weapons and tactics so they could plan how to fight together. The axiolar ships showed how they could bend light around themselves to become almost invisible. The cat-like Mercian demonstrated their powerful ion cannons that could destroy a large ship with one shot, though they took a long time to charge. The Lati created shield walls that nothing could break through, but used enormous amounts of energy. When it was humanity's turn, Admiral Chen asked permission to demonstrate their weapons on a nearby asteroid field. No one lived there, so it would be safe. Preparing to demonstrate our primary offensive capability, Chen announced over the shared communication channel. What you're about to witness is what we call a kinetic cascade strike. 3 medium-sized human cruisers moved toward the asteroid field. From their launch tubes, they fired what looked like simple metal projectiles. Many of the alien observers laughed quietly. Firing rocks in space seemed very primitive. But as the projectiles neared the asteroid field, something unexpected happened. Each metal object suddenly split into hundreds of smaller pieces. Then each of those pieces split again, creating thousands of fast-moving fragments. When this cloud of metal shards hit the asteroid field, the entire area seemed to shake. Asteroids that had floated peacefully for millions of years cracked, shattered, and turned to dust in seconds. Where there had been a dense field of rocks, now there was nothing but a cloud of fine particles. Complete silence fell across all communication channels. By calculating precise fragmentation patterns, Chen explained into the silence, we can transform a small initial mass into a destruction wave that overwhelms defensive systems through sheer numbers. On the Hegemony command ship, tactical officers stared at their screens. Their advanced targeting systems could track and shoot down incoming missiles or energy beams, but they could never track and neutralize thousands of fragments all at once. We have other capabilities we prefer to demonstrate only when actually engaging the enemy, Chen added. Some technologies are better kept as surprises. That night, Grand Admiral Kiz Thul called his top commanders together. The meeting lasted for hours. When it ended, new battle plans were sent to all ships in the combined fleet. The human fleet had been moved from the back, where they were supposed to handle supplies and transport, to the very front of the battle formation. They would be the first to face the Voidthorn when the fighting started. Are you certain about this, Grand Admiral? Asked his second-in-command. Just days ago, you considered these humans primitive. Kiz Thul's 4 eyes looked tired. I was wrong, he said simply. What we saw today wasn't just a weapons demonstration. It was a warning. A warning. Yes, the Grand Admiral looked out at the stars. A warning that we have gravely underestimated these humans. And I suspect we still are. Not everyone was happy about the new respect humans were getting. The Drukhari, a species with dark purple skin and 6 arms, had been selling weapons to most of the galaxy for centuries. The sudden appearance of human technology threatened their business. On the Drukhari flagship, High Commander Vexor gathered his most trusted captains in a secret meeting. His yellow eyes glowed with anger in the dim light. These humans cannot be what they appear, he hissed. No species develops such advanced technology on their own. They must have had help, stolen technology, perhaps an alliance with the ancient precursors, or something even worse. Captain Mestal nodded. Their ships appeared from nowhere. Just 3 years ago, our spies reported only primitive vessels in Earth's orbit. Exactly. Vexor slammed his 4 lower hands on the table. We need to learn their secrets. Send our best spies to infiltrate their fleet. While the Drukhari plotted, Vexor also began spreading rumors among the other species. He whispered that perhaps humans had actually attracted the Voithorn to the galaxy through dangerous experiments. The rumors spread quickly. Aboard the human flagship Invictus, Admiral Chen was reading reports when Lieutenant Commander Raj Patel entered her office. Patel was Earth's head of intelligence operations. We've detected multiple infiltration attempts in the past 24 hours, Patel reported. Mostly Drukhari, but a few others as well. Chen smiled. I expected this. What about the rumors? Growing fast. The Drukhari are telling everyone we attracted the Voithorn here. Instead of looking worried, Chen leaned back in her chair. Good. Let's use this to our advantage. Mom, don't stop the Drukhari spies, she ordered. Let them in, but control what they see. Show them our impressive but non-critical systems. Let them think they're discovering our secrets. Patel looked concerned. That's risky. What if they find something important? They won't, Chen replied. Because we haven't shown anyone our actual advanced technology yet. What the hegemony has seen so far are just the basics. Over the next 2 days, Drukhari spies managed to secretly enter several human ships. They planted listening devices, took scans, and stole data files, all while being carefully monitored by human intelligence officers who made sure they only found what Admiral Chen wanted them to find. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Commander Patel traced the source of the rumors back to the Drukhari. He brought his findings to Admiral Chen. Should we expose them to the hegemony? He asked. Chen studied the evidence, then shook her head. No, let them continue. Their actions tell us more about their fears than our investigation ever could. She looked out the viewport at the stars. Besides, she added with a small smile, we haven't even shown them our actual advanced technology yet. Let them fixate on the decoys. As the human fleet prepared for the coming battle, the Drukhari thought they were uncovering humanity's secrets. They had no idea they were seeing exactly what Admiral Chen wanted them to see, and nothing more. The combined hegemony defense fleet finally intercepted the Voithorn scouts at the edge of the Eridan system. The Voithorn ships were black and twisted, looking more like thorny plants than vessels. They moved in strange patterns that made them hard to track. Despite the impressive demonstration by the human fleet, the hegemony commanders still placed the Earth ships in reserve positions. They called it the Mobile Reserve Force, meant to respond wherever needed. But everyone knew the truth. The aliens still didn't fully trust humans in their battle plans. The battle began as the hegemony had planned. The Mercian heavy ships fired their powerful ion cannons, creating holes in the Voithorn formation. The quick axelar ships, nearly invisible with their light-bending technology, darted through these gaps to attack from behind. For the first 20 minutes, everything went perfectly. The Voithorn were falling back, losing ships with each volley. Admiral Chen watched from the bridge of the Invictus, her face showing no emotion. They're holding us back, muttered Commander Jackson at the weapons station. We could end this in minutes. Patience, Chen replied softly. Watch closely. Suddenly, the pattern of the battle changed. The retreating Voithorn ships stopped running. Each one began to glow with a strange purple light. The light spread, connecting ship to ship until the entire enemy fleet was surrounded by a pulsing purple shield. On the hegemony flagship, Grand Admiral Kizthul watched in horror as the Mercian ion blasts hit the purple shields and simply disappeared. The axelar stealth ships, caught in the purple energy, became fully visible. What is happening? He demanded. His science officer looked up from her readings, her 4 eyes wide with fear. They've deployed adaptive shielding, technology that analyzes our energy weapons and neutralizes them. The carefully planned hegemony attack fell apart. The Mercian ships, suddenly defenseless, began taking heavy damage. The revealed axelar vessels were easy targets for the Voithorn's weapons. After a moment of hesitation, Grand Admiral K's Full opened a communication channel to the human fleet. "Admiral Chen," he said, his voice tight with urgency, "we require your intervention. Deploy your fleet at your discretion." Chen's response was immediate. "Moving to engage. Request that all Allied ships withdraw to minimum safe distance of 3 light minutes. 3 light minutes, K's Full protested. That's nearly the entire system. "Trust me, Grand Admiral," Chen replied calmly. "You don't want your ships caught in what happens next." As the damaged hegemony forces pulled back, the human fleet moved forward in perfect coordination. The smaller ships formed a sphere around the larger vessels, which began arranging themselves in a strange geometric pattern. From the Invictus, Admiral Chen gave a simple command: "Activate Prometheus Protocol." What happened next defied understanding. The human ships generated a strange field of energy that rippled through space like a wave. Where it touched the Voithorn fleet, ships simply disappeared. Not exploded, not damaged. They dissolved into particles. When the energy field collapsed, nearly half of the enemy fleet was gone. The remaining Voithorn ships, their formation broken, were quickly destroyed by conventional human weapons. The entire battle lasted less than an hour. As the human fleet regrouped, every communication channel in the galaxy exploded with the same question. What had they just witnessed? After the battle, Grand Admiral K's Full demanded answers. He brought the hegemony's highest officials to the human flagship UEF Invictus for an emergency meeting. The blue-skinned aliens looked both afraid and angry as they faced Admiral Chen and her officers across the conference table. "That was not kinetic technology," Kezful said, his voice hard. "That was not any technology known to the hegemony. Explain yourselves." Admiral Chen glanced at her senior staff, then nodded to a woman sitting quietly at the back of the room. The woman stood up and walked to the front. She had silver hair and kind eyes behind her glasses. "This is Dr. Eleanor Wright," Chen introduced her, Earth's leading theoretical physicist. Dr. Wright smiled at the aliens. She spoke slowly and clearly, using simple words to explain complex ideas. "What you witnessed was the practical application of what we call concordant field theory," she explained. "Put simply, we've learned to temporarily synchronize conflicting quantum states across a defined spatial area, then force them to resolve simultaneously." The hegemony scientists looked at each other in confusion. "You're describing technology that violates fundamental laws of physics," one alien scientist objected. "No," Dr. Wright corrected gently. "We're describing technology that operates within laws of physics you haven't discovered yet." The room fell silent. The aliens looked stunned. This was not just a new weapon or a clever trick. Humans had found entirely new laws of physics that the rest of the galaxy didn't even know existed. "How?" K's Full asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Your species has been spacefaring for less than 3 centuries. Admiral Chen took over the explanation. "Perhaps because we knew we were alone. The hegemony developed in a community of species, sharing discoveries, building on common knowledge. Humanity developed in isolation, following paths others might have abandoned or never considered." She continued, "Our physics took different directions because we had no one to tell us which directions were futile. We tried everything, even ideas that seemed impossible." Dr. Wright added, "When you share knowledge, you also share blind spots. Working alone meant we had to think differently." The aliens were silent, trying to understand how their thousands of years of shared scientific progress had missed what humans had found in just a few centuries. Chen's face grew more serious. "But we need to discuss a more pressing issue. The Voithorn will adapt to this tactic. The Prometheus Protocol requires hours to recharge, and each use strains our ship's structural integrity. We won the first battle, but we need a new strategy for the war." As the meeting continued, the hegemony officials kept stealing glances at the humans around them. Everything they thought they knew about these primitive newcomers had been wrong. Humans weren't just another species joining the galactic community. They were something entirely new, and the galaxy would never be the same. After the battle and the revelations about human technology, everything changed. Human officers were no longer kept apart from important meetings. Now they sat at the center of planning sessions, with alien commanders asking for their opinions and advice. Human scientists worked side by side with the brightest minds from other species, sharing ideas and theories. For the first time, the different races of the galaxy were truly working together as equals. But not everyone was happy with this new arrangement. The Drukhari continued spreading rumors about humans. They whispered that Earth might become a greater danger than the Voiforn if they became too powerful. Several smaller alien species began to agree, watching the humans with suspicion. Meanwhile, the cat-like Mercian, impressed by human courage in battle, suggested a formal military alliance that would last beyond the current crisis. The philosophical Lottie wanted to exchange scientific knowledge with Earth. Admiral Chen had to carefully navigate these complicated political waters while preparing for the next battle. Then troubling news arrived from the scout ships. "Admiral, we've detected a change in the Voiforn fleet's movement," reported Lieutenant Pottle. "They've altered course. They're bypassing several vulnerable systems and heading directly toward a specific target." "Which target?" Chen asked, though she already suspected the answer. "Sol system, ma'am. Earth." Chen gathered her staff to discuss this development. "They're not just adapting their weapons and shields," she told them. "They're adapting their strategy. They've identified us as the primary threat." The Hegemony Council called an emergency meeting to address this crisis. Grand Admiral Case Thull addressed the gathered representatives from all species. "The Voiforn appear to be targeting Earth specifically. We must decide. Do we concentrate our defenses there, or use Earth as bait for a counterattack elsewhere?" The room erupted in debate. Several alien leaders argued that sacrificing Earth might be the logical choice if it allowed them to destroy the Voiforn command structure. When the human delegation was given a chance to speak, Admiral Chen's response surprised everyone. "We appreciate your strategic considerations," she said calmly, "but they're based on incomplete information. Earth has its own defenses beyond the fleet we've committed to this coalition. We welcome Allied support, but we do not require it for survival." Murmurs of disbelief filled the room. Chen continued before anyone could interrupt. "However, we propose something more ambitious. We analyzed the Voiforn communication patterns and believe we've located their central coordination node. We're prepared to lead an assault on this target, but we'll need volunteer forces from other species who are willing to integrate with our command structure." After hours of debate, a plan was formed. Earth would face the Voiforn with a mixed force of human ships and volunteer allies. Meanwhile, the main Hegemony fleet would strike at the suspected Voiforn command center. As the delegates left the meeting, Grand Admiral Kez Thull approached Chen privately. "You're very confident for someone about to defend their homeworld against overwhelming odds," he said. Chen smiled. "Grand Admiral, you've seen perhaps 15% of our actual military capability. The Sol system has been preparing for this type of scenario for over a century." Kez Thull's four eyes widened. What else, he wondered, were these humans hiding? The Voidforn arrival in the Sol system began with a massive burst of energy that temporarily disabled all communications. When the sensors cleared, the defenders saw an enormous fleet, nearly 3,000 Voidforn vessels of various sizes. They completely outnumbered the combined 500 ships of the human-led defense force. Admiral Chen, watching from the bridge of the Invictus, showed no fear. This was exactly what humanity had prepared for. As the invaders passed Neptune's orbit, they encountered the first layer of Earth's hidden defenses. What had appeared to be ordinary research stations suddenly transformed. Panels slid open, revealing weapon systems. The stations activated, releasing millions of tiny metal particles that formed an expanding cloud of deadly shrapnel. The outer ships of the Voiforn fleet suffered heavy damage as they flew through this invisible barrier. Hundreds of their smaller vessels were torn apart, but the main invasion force pressed forward. In the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, the Voidthorn encountered the second layer of Earth's defenses. What had seemed to be simple mining installations suddenly revealed their true purpose. Massive gravity manipulation devices activated, creating powerful gravity wells that pulled entire squadrons of enemy ships off course and into each other. The Lottie commander, watching from a safe distance, turned to his human liaison officer. Those were disguised as mining equipment. For how long? About 50 years, the officer replied calmly. We've been preparing since before first contact with the hegemony. Still, the main body of the Voidthorn fleet continued toward Earth. There were simply too many of them to be stopped by the outer defenses. As the invasion force approached the space between Mars and Earth, Admiral Chen finally gave the order the human fleet had been waiting for. Activate the Lazarus Protocol. Throughout the Sol system, hundreds of satellites and orbital platforms that had appeared to be simple communication relays or weather monitors suddenly lit up with energy. They were not the primitive observation tools the hegemony had recorded in their intelligence reports. They were autonomous weapons platforms with advanced AI systems, each one as powerful as a small warship. At the same time, the surface of Luna, Earth's moon, began to change. Giant doors slid open on the lunar surface, revealing underground hangars. Hundreds of additional warships rose from these hidden bases, their engines glowing blue against the darkness of space. The Allied commanders watched in amazement as the human defensive force tripled in size within minutes. You had these assets hidden on your own moon, demanded the Lottie commander. Among other places, Chen replied. We've maintained a policy of strategic ambiguity regarding our full military capability for generations. The battle that followed was unlike anything seen before in the galaxy. The human forces moved with perfect coordination between ships, drones, and platforms. They seemed to predict the Voidthorn's every move, concentrating their fire with mathematical precision. For the first time since they appeared, the Voidthorn showed signs of confusion. Their formation broke apart as they tried to deal with attacks coming from all directions. As the battle reached its peak, Admiral Chen transmitted directly to the Voidthorn command ships. You have underestimated us for the first and last time. Withdraw now, or be destroyed. The Voidthorn response shocked everyone watching. They began to retreat, their movements disorganized and panicked. The invasion of Earth had failed. 2 weeks after the Battle of Sol, representatives from every spacefaring species gathered on Earth. For most aliens, this was their first time setting foot on humanity's homeworld. The occasion was both a victory celebration and an important meeting to decide the galaxy's future. The hegemony's attack on the Voidthorn command node had succeeded, largely thanks to the information provided by human intelligence. With their coordination center destroyed and their main fleet scattered, the Voidthorn threat was over. But the political landscape of the galaxy had changed forever. The meeting took place in the Grand Hall of the United Earth Government in New Geneva. Sunlight streamed through tall windows, illuminating the gathered delegates from dozens of worlds. Grand Admiral Kezthul stood to address them. For thousands of years, he said, his voice carrying through the silent hall, the hegemony has maintained stability through what we call managed technological advancement. We believe that by controlling how quickly new technologies spread, we could prevent arms races and ensure peace. He paused, looking directly at the human representatives. Recent events have shown the problems with this approach. Keeping humanity isolated did not make them weaker. It forced them to become stronger in unexpected ways. Many delegates nodded in agreement. The old system had failed to recognize humanity's potential and had nearly cost them the war. After days of discussion, a new agreement was formed. The old galactic hegemony would become the Galactic Alliance, a partnership of equals where all species could share their unique knowledge while maintaining their independence. As the formal meetings ended, Admiral Chen was approached by Vexor, the Drakari commander who had once led the campaign against humans. I still do not understand, he admitted, his yellow eyes showing his confusion. If you possessed such power all along, why reveal it only now? You could have joined the galactic community centuries ago as a dominant force. Chen considered her answer carefully. Humanity's history is filled with cautionary tales of first contact between civilizations with different levels of technology. We needed to be certain we could engage with the galaxy as equals, not as beggars or as conquerors. She added, besides, revealing everything at once would have been inefficient. Even now, you've seen only what was necessary to counter the immediate threat. Vexor's expression changed as he understood what she was saying. You're saying there's more. Admiral Chen simply smiled. There's always more, Commander. That's the lesson humanity has learned over and over. The moment you believe you've reached the pinnacle of knowledge is precisely when someone else surpasses you. As the delegates departed Earth to return to their homeworlds, the message spread throughout the galaxy. The species from the isolated blue world were not the primitive newcomers everyone had assumed. They were something far more interesting and perhaps more dangerous. They were humans, and they had only just begun to show what they were capable of. *, the end*.